Hello everybody, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of personal work. Personal work versus professional work. Why is it important, right? Before I start, I just want to thank you guys so much for the support, for subscribing. If you're not subscribed just yet, please do so. It really helps me. Click the little bell below as well. We'd like to get notifications for future videos. But you know, before someone complains about like, oh my god, he's dragging this so much, I had to wait like half an hour for him to tell me what this video is all about. I'm gonna tell you beforehand, okay? If you're antsy, is it important? Personal work? Yes, it's extremely important. I would say it's essential, okay? That's the answer right there. Now, if you're too busy to watch the rest of the video, go on your business and then let other people enjoy if they want to, all right? So, I'm going to be talking about today, like a little bit of my story, what happened during this, you know, it's like those, let's say 17 years since I came about in this industry, how I started and all this stuff. Just beforehand, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a guru. I know there are some like, you know, it's like CG gurus out there these days. Seems like they have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I just have my personal story to tell you, right? Everything I say, it's about my own personal experiences. I don't know sometimes what I'm doing, you know, and so take everything with a grain of salt. This is just someone, like another artist, sharing an experience with you, but without formulas or anything. We are so different as human beings, and we go through different things in life, right? So this is just a personal experience. Let me just share my screen here with you guys, and let's start this. So this is how everything started, okay? So once upon a time, this was like back in 2000, I would say 2000, okay? I actually started this short movie that I never finished. And those are just some of the props I was building for the short movie. You know, it's like this was like over 20 years ago, believe it or not. This was all done in Maya, did some renders. This was like a little short movie I never finished. So it was supposed to be like a very dirty house like that. Everything was rendered with, I think back in the day, it was just like the regular 3D Max renders. And to create this kind of like environment, I had to fake all the lights. So there was no GI. So I had like a bunch of lights everywhere. You know, it's like those domes of light you'd have to create. So the renders are quite expensive. You would take a long time to render, but this is like part of the universe I was creating back in the day, right? And this short movie was never finished. The main hero, the main character of the short movie would be this old lady in here. And she was a very creepy old lady. She would be sitting in front of the TV and all this stuff, right? So cutting everything down short, I mean, like this was a short movie I started to work on. I actually posted a lot of those images in a Brazilian forum because that was my beginning, you know. I had no clue. I never posted anything online. So I posted in a Brazilian forum, and I'm not going to say the name, but that was kind of like a competition to my own forum later on. Yeah, I remember like it was not very well accepted in a way. You know, it's like some people liked what I was doing. Some other people, I don't know if you felt threatened or something like that, but they started to actually bash the work. You know, it's like and say that everything I was doing was kind of wrong. You know, it's like, you know, I would post textures and things like that. Or someone always like complaining about the stuff I was doing. You know, it's like I was doing, the modeling was wrong, the topology was wrong, everything was wrong. So I got like really bummed with that whole situation. I posted at CG Talk back in the day. If you're young right now, you don't know what CG Talk was. CG Talk was actually a gigantic forum for CG artists. Nowadays it's called CG Society. It's very different from back in the day. The forum was gigantic. It had like 400 something thousand people register. It was insane. 2D, 3D, a lot of people posted in there, right? So I posted the same work because in my mind was like, okay, I'm such a noob, right? I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm getting all those like very harsh words from, you know, it's like in this Brazilian forum. And since I'm going to be bashed, I want to be bashed by someone who actually know what they're talking about. It was like, okay, let me just post this on CG Talk. So I posted those images and everything. And within a couple of hours, I got front page. I got the front page of CG Talk. It was such a big deal because you would get thousands upon thousands of views and comments and all this stuff. So this one I posted just for the record, I was still working as a banker. I was working in banking since I was 15 years old, all the way until I was 31, so 16 years of my life. And this was just a hobby, you know. It's like I was trying to learn those things and get better at CG. So everything I was learning on the fly, how to texture, how to, you know, to model all those things. And And so this was kind of like my introduction, and I was trying to improve. And my intention was like, okay, I'm gonna finish this short movie, and once everything is done, I can present this as my little portfolio piece, right? Showing that I can texture, model, animate, all this stuff. Obviously, full of aspirations, right? But without having any clue, right? Like just trying to learn everything on the fly. So it was very awesome because like what happened with it, I got the front page, and with the front page came the job offers. You know, it was pretty amazing. Because I got this job offer from Blizzard first, was the very first company to contact me. Not a bad company to be contacted by. And I totally, it was terrible in my interview because I didn't speak English at all. This was like in 2002, I believe the interview happened. Or 2003. This animation is from 2003. So around that time, 2002, 2003. So I didn't speak English at all. A friend of mine who worked with me spoke English, but her English was not great either. She tried her best. The interview didn't go anywhere, right? So I tanked that first attempt, but not a problem at all. So I kept like working on my personal stuff, and then over time I started to post like these little tests I was doing for my main character for the movie, which was this plumber guy. And this was like, bear in mind, this is like 20 years ago, right? I was trying to create this rig that was all based on joints and also blend shapes as correctives, right? And everything was triggered by those few controls in here. Nowadays you see a lot of those rigs, but back in the day, not a lot of people were doing this kind of stuff, So I posted this one, and then I did this animation actually that I had to mute right now because of copyright and all this stuff, but copyright, I don't want to deal with it. So this was the animation I posted at CG Talk. And it was just like a bouncing head animation just to test like his facial expressions. I wanted him to be very expressive. He would be like my main character in the movie. He had to be very funny and very expressive. He was this plumber in this haunted house, like with this creepy old lady in there. And he was so scared of the whole situation, So I had to make him very expressive. So I animated this using that little rig in about like, I think it was like maybe like 6 hours at night. I animated this and I posted the next day. Just as a test, I render everything in Maya, like just using the regular software render engine. And I got another front page again. So with that front page, what happened is that I got the job offers from animation studios this time. And then I got my first animation job at animation studios for the movie Barnyard based on this animation, So the director of the movie actually called me, actually texted me. I could write in English, I could not speak in English. And then he actually invited me to work for his movie, So that was the whole process of like getting the visa done, took a couple of months and all this stuff. And that was like when I first like entered this industry, It's like I was out of the bank at that time. I was working in a small company in Brazil called Mr. Graphics. I'm very thankful to the owners like Marcus and Tony, who actually gave me the chance to work like in something animation wise, like for TV commercials and everything. After the bank, they actually matched my salary on the bank, gave me that chance. And they're doing this time working for this production company in Brasilia. I actually started doing all those animation tests and everything, and then everything started to happen, So this was all like personal work, right? So over time, after those things, I kept posting different things. Like there was in 2003, for example, there was the tests we did for the ZBrush 3, I believe, when they released ZBrush 3. And I started doing those characters, it's like some sketches like this. And I posted at ZBrush Central as well, so there was a lot of stuff going on. It's like there was this time of like this period I was actually waiting for my visa to get ready and all this stuff. So this was kind of like, I believe like I got invited first in 2003 for the movie, but then during the same period I was doing all those those models, like for the ZBrush 3. So like you see like ZBrush 3 right there. So I was doing all those models and then like having fun with them, and I got a lot of recognition for it as well. Like it's like at ZBrush Central and all this stuff. So a lot of stuff started to happen around that time. It's like those are around like 2000. This is later, I think. I think those are like 2005, 2006 or something like that. But all those models here are done as personal work. So everything I did here around like between 2002 to 2006, all personal work, you know, it's like all this stuff. And so I kept like posting on CG Talk and ZBrush Central for all that time, you know. And all of this stuff opened so many doors to me, you know. It's like every single job offer I got, for you to have an idea, I never had a portfolio, not a portfolio, I never had a demo reel, for example. Every single time a company contacted me was because of my personal work. All this stuff I posted online, you know, I was like, sorry for the flashing in there without, but you know, it's like all this stuff I was posting online, people are just like, companies are starting to ask me, you know, it's like if I wanted to work with them, which was very cool. I got, my second job was to actually to work for Cafe Effects. So that was like after Barnyard, which was a animation studio. And things started to happen really for me in 2004 doing those challenges. I entered a CG Talk challenge that was called Machine Flash. This was 2004, okay? And obviously, during this time, I was like learning organic modeling, texturing, all this stuff. I was doing that process, not like two years in, basically learning those things. So I was kind of like green during this whole thing. This was my final piece. For the Machine Flash challenge, we had to combine like, you know, obviously machine and flash, right? Very obvious. So this was my piece, and I actually ended up like winning the first prize for it, which was like $10,000 in prizes. I got a workstation, I got like a bunch of software, things like that. Those are some of the models I did for the same piece, right? So this is 2004, you can see it right there. And so yeah, this is 2004, so around like 2 years in doing this kind of stuff. And I ended up like winning this, so that opened a lot of doors for me, including the Cafe FX gig. You know, it's like one of the moderators at CG Talk was working at Cafe FX, and she told them, you know, it's like, oh, you should hire this guy. So I was hired, and then during my Cafe FX staying, I actually entered another challenge the next year, which was this one here, was called Master and Servant challenge. And this one I ended up winning the first prize again, which is another $10,000, another workstation. And that time I actually asked to switch to a laptop like workstation, and again a bunch of software and stuff like that. So you know, it's like this was all done in ZBrush, by the way. Like it was my first time trying to do everything in ZBrush. It was a little bit of a nightmare because I had to create markers for every single object you see in the scene here, and I would have to drop each one of the objects, the models, into those markers to bake into 2.5D, right? Bear in mind that we didn't have access to multiple subtools or anything. It was very, very rudimentary, right? So this was a ton of work, and it was 100% ZBrush and some Photoshop as well for copying like the background and everything. And it was a ton of fun to do. You know, it's like this is supposed to be kind of like a Veruca from Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory, right? Including, you know, it's like you can see I have some Wonka bars in there. I kind of like I remember like the idea was to actually, instead of having like this master being this very buff guy and the servant being like this semi-naked woman, you know, it's like very, very cliche. I decided to go like, no, let's make the master like this very ugly, you know, hungry young lady actually commanding this slave, which was this kangaroo, using him for transport, right? And you can see he's not liking what she's doing, but she is actually going like, you know, is stealing candy from everybody and hot dogs and things like that. And that poor man in there like is devastated that she just like she just stole all his stuff. So all that stuff you see there, man, this was all baked in 2.5D in ZBrush, you know, and rendered in ZBrush. So it was a ton of work, but totally worth it. I got the first prize, was awesome, you know. So those challenges really brought a lot of visibility, you know. I was like, and then after that, I entered another one that was like the Stan Winston challenge. This one was already, I think, in between jobs, maybe like right before I got to Lucasfilm Animation back in the day. So this was actually right after Stan Winston died, and then there was a mini challenge at CG Talk that they released that was supposed to be like, okay, just like let's pay homage to him, like some of the creations like for his movies, right? So I did this Predator, I did also this Pumpkinhead, right? So this was 2008 already, yeah. So in this case here, I was already at Lucasfilm Animation for sure. So I did this Pumpkinhead, and then I did Stan Winston caricature, which is based on the Sebastian Kruger's awesome caricature, which is basically Stan Winston, half of his face Stan Winston, the other half was a monster. So I actually just sculpted his drawing or his painting, and I mirrored both sides, so he's like actually Stan instead of like being half monster. And this was like part of the contest as well. This is like a T-Rex that I did as well based on the movie. And again, like this was supposed to be like a couple of weeks of work, you know. And my intention was to do just like this caricature here. That was all I had in mind. But then a friend from Brazil, Alex Oliver, who was a very good modeler, he started to crank all those different models because he was building this, you know, this composition with all those different characters. And then I got super competitive, right? I was like, oh yeah, so you're gonna model all this stuff? So I tell you what, I'm gonna model too. I'm gonna model a bunch of characters, and then I'm gonna texture them and I'm gonna render them just to show you how it's done. So it's my spirit of being super competitive coming from those past challenges, you know. So and then I did all this stuff, and again, like I won 4 out of 5. You know, didn't have prizes, just categories, you know. And 4 out of 5, and then the best diorama I think was Alex. He won for all those awesome models he did, but then for the other models, other prizes, not prizes, but you know, it's like awards. I actually got 4 out of 5, which was really cool. And I'm telling you guys all this stuff. I'm not trying to brag, really. This is what happened. I'm just telling you a story, okay? I'm not bragging or anything. So, and this one is another challenge for the Papa Ninja challenge. Was converting a 2.5D, a 2D concept into a 3D model, right? It was totally out of my scope, like doing like some hot chicks and stuff like that. Something I normally don't do in my personal work, but it was very cool because his drawings are amazing. You know, it's like I went to, you know, decide to do this challenge, and I ended up like winning as well this challenge, which, you know, the prize was supposed to be like a poster signed by him, which I never got. I'm still waiting for it. But it was very fun to work on this, you know. The fact that I have this one here colored, it turns out that when I start changing things, you know, it's like when I change the color of her clothes and all this stuff, I noticed some of the other competitors start changing things as well and copying some of the colors. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to surprise, like in the last minute, I'm going to change the color. So I ended up like going to a, you know, it's like a totally like a monochromatic version like that. For the final one, and ended up like winning it. So all this stuff here is personal work, okay? None of this is something that I did for a studio or anything like that. And everything that I have, everything that I got in terms of like exposure online, my interview at ILM when I got to ILM, I didn't have like I said, like a demo reel. I brought a lot of those models. Packed into you know, it's like a folder in my laptop, and I start opening them and then showing them all this stuff. This was 2008, right, when I got the job at ILM, and this was actually enough for them to hire me. You know, it's like, and later offer me a staff position. So that's how important personal work is. That's what I want you guys to keep in mind, okay? Because it's very cool to have like go to schools and pay all this money, all this stuff, right? But without putting the work down. This is like from Carlos Huante concept. I did this one for fun. I asked him authorization, so it was cool. I used to work with Carlos, so he authorized me to do that. And there's some, you know, additional pieces that I did like over the years, everything. So there's so many things I did, like, you know, during that time. I used to post all the time online, and then came 2009 and then 2010, and then around that time we had our first son. And then I completely disappeared from online. You know, it's like I went under, like, you know, it's like I don't want to do any of this stuff anymore. I just want to pay attention to, you know, my family, raise our kid and all this stuff. And then it was later on that I think it was like actually there was another challenge. It was right when my wife got pregnant. It was this B-movie challenge I forgot to mention, which I won for best models for this challenge. I didn't win the overall thing, but I won for best models. The final piece is not as fun as the progress. You know, I always like the progress better. I used Modo to render this. The guys at Modo actually were super nice to actually give me a copy, you know, because I wanted to test it. And I ended up like using for this challenge, and it was very cool, you know. So everything modeled in ZBrush, some clay rendering there. I'm sorry, this is all live. I'm not editing this video, so you're gonna hear some sneezes from time to time. So, you know, it's like I had those 3 characters, this little baby, this, you know, this bonobo character, and then there is this this monster here, which is the IRS man from outer space, right? So kind of like the intention is to create like a B movie kind of setup. And then in my idea was to create this pin-up lady inspired by Gil Elfgren, which is he was amazing like pin-up artist. So I actually did this kind of like a doll, right? Like she has this cranker in there, so she's supposed to be like a automaton, right? And then she's actually married to this bonobo guy, and then they have this little baby trying to save his savings in there, like with the little piggy bank from the IRS man from outer space, the tax man from outer space, right? So this was my B movie challenge entry. Very stupid ideas, but it was very fun to do it. So that's like the IRS man, intergalactic revenue service in there. And his name is actually Manny in a suit. So like man in a suit, right? So he's a man in a suit. Get it? Haha. Anyway, so, but over time, like, so after all this stuff, like, so I re-entered the whole stage, it was like, started to post it again after I went to a conference in called THU, like a Trojan horse was a unicorn in Troia in Portugal. And I got so inspired by everything that I saw in there. I was called to be like one of the presenters. I just had a lot of old work to show. I wasn't very happy with it. But after I came back, I was so excited to start different things, So I started like, with this chimp model. I got really excited to start modeling it. It's like I did a lot of work with HD geometry. Never finished this model, by the way, but it's kind of close. I have to go back to it. And then in 2017, I started to actually crank all those like clay renders like this, sketches, And also this brought me a lot of visibility. I posted those ones in my Instagram. So if you go back to Instagram, you're going to see my first posts were in 2017. And that's when I started actually posting all those sketches to look like clay. And my very first post is actually this sketch of Alfred Hitchcock. Very fun to do, like just like a one night sketches I was doing. So all those guys are 1 night to 2 nights. Sometimes I would start the sketch in one night, refine the next night, do a render and post it, So very freeing, very, cool to do that way. And then from that, like things started to evolve into more refined pieces, So at some point I got into this Rick Baker model, right? So I started to actually work on this Rick Baker model, and I thought like, let me try to push things, so I can try to get some realistic renders out there. And I started to study the skin, so I can try to sculpt everything by hand. Started to study XGen, all this stuff. And I came up with this image of Rick Baker, which is, who is one of my favorite artists ever. And was great to pay homage to him, So this was actually what opened a lot of doors as well. Again, personal work. I did on my own time, my own research to create this. That was followed by this other model of Dick Smith. Actually, I think it was the opposite. Was it the opposite? I don't quite remember. I started one and then I kind of like reused a lot of stuff to start the other one. So this model here of Dick Smith, I also have to finish. I'm not super happy with the likeness just yet, but it was very cool. Again, it opened a lot of doors for me, the whole thing about my classes that I teach online these days came about because of the work I did for those characters, I developed the techniques, how to sculpt and create like a realistic skin by hand without using a lot of commercial stuff, So when I did this, a lot of people got very interested in doing my classes, So when I posted about my classes, we are running out of money, basically. I tell this story, I'm gonna repeat. We needed money to put a new roof in our house. We didn't have the money because we live in Marin. It's super expensive. And our salaries were not enough. And then I was like, I have to find a second job. So I posted that if you guys want to learn with me how to create those things, I can help you out as long as I can make enough money to put a new roof in our house. And then within like a couple of weeks after I posted this, I got people interested to fill up basically 3 classes. So I got very excited about it. And then he started the whole business, because it's like, okay, now I have enough people interested to do those classes, And then from that point on, I decided, okay, if I'm going to teach anything, I want to teach on my own, and I want to help people to become better artists, obviously, but also doing some stuff that is going to be fun for me to do, So over time, like all those years, all those years. I would say like since 2019 when I started teaching those classes, I created a bunch of different models, you know. This one was the first class that I taught. It was like I think it's March or May of 2019. I think it was May. That was the Stan Winston realistic portrait. So I started with that one. And then I did another one. It was the Ray Harryhausen. I don't think I have it in here. And then I did one like a portrait of my wife that I never finished. I have to go back. So there's a lot of unfinished, but this was like, I was teaching this during the class, you know, it's like how to create up to that point. And then from that point, you know, it's like a lot of other models in between stuff I was doing, you know, for example, this Michelangelo here I never finished. Again, personal work on the side, right? Then there's this other one here was for another one of those classes. Again, like teaching my students and having fun at the same time. I thought like, what can be better? You know, it's like doing the stuff I like doing, exploring different things, different types of subjects, different types of skin, different types of ethnicities and ages, things like that. Learning a lot in the process, you know. At the same time, providing people with, you know, quality information, a lot of in-depth stuff that people don't have access very easily out there. And at the same time, making money, you know, it's like in being able to provide to my family. So that was a great way to go. You know, it's like I didn't have to to go like and open any of those, you know, it's like help me, GoFundMe, whatever. You know, it's like I actually worked hard to create something for our family and to provide to them. I still consider this personal work, even though it's like a commercial thing that I do to sell my classes and everything, still personal work, you know, it's like because this I do with all my heart, you know, it's like I like doing this kind of stuff. I like providing this kind of stuff. So the importance of personal work, is it important? Yes, it's extremely important. You know, right now at this moment, I'm actually switching jobs. I'm in between jobs. I should take between, I would say 2 weeks to maybe a month to a month and a half. You know, it's like just like chilling and just relaxing until I start in my next job, which I'm about to decide, I think in a week or two, where I'm going to go. I have a bunch of offers on the table right now, which is very exciting. I'm gonna end up like you know, landing I think a better job next, so that's really exciting to me. And but again, like when I started searching for the new job and posting about it, the first thing I did was to post some of my personal work. You know, it's like one of them was this portrait of Giger that you're familiar with from another video, right? I posted this one on my LinkedIn, and then I posted my Velasquez model as well, which is this one. And both of them are personal work, and both of them open, again, a ton of opportunities. A lot of people, you know, contacting me, recruiters, artists, supervisors, commenting on those pieces, and then asking me to work for them, right? So do you need to have a gigantic portfolio with all movies in your portfolio? I would say you probably don't, you know, but it helps a lot. I mean, like I have at this point over 30 movies that I've worked on. So obviously, like it just tells them that you can work in a professional environment, that you are a good worker. I mean, like I've been at ILM for now 14 years, right? So, and then the reason I'm leaving is not because of my work, by the way, it's something else, but maybe you can discuss this some other time. It's just like some stupid laws that are coming down right now. So at this point here, all I can tell you guys, I mean, it's pretty obvious, I think, at this point, right, how important personal work is. You know, it's like every single door that opened to me since I was a banker, by getting to this industry, you know, it's like discovered online. CG Talk, imagine that. It's not even like Facebook or Instagram that reaches everybody these days, right? And LinkedIn, you can contact with everybody. It was this not a small forum, it was a gigantic forum, 400,000 people. But in a way, it was like a small sample of the population, right? Because every single one there was an artist. And nowadays, if you post on Instagram or Facebook, if it goes viral, for example, like, you know, it's like I have friends who do like a portrait of, you know, it's like pop artists, right? And tag them. So if these people repost that, imagine that, like this is millions of views, right? So you can get like to, you know, to like stardom, right? Like very quickly if you do something like that. I try not to do that, you know, it's like to create like pop stars. It looks like portraits or anything like that. All the portraits I do are about the people who inspired me during this career, both like visual effects and special effects back in the day. So, but that's my own thing. I mean, like I don't blame people for doing that. It's like in just trying to expand their horizons and grow. It's like in really reach like a totally different audiences and everything. So at this point, you have a lot more possibilities with Instagram, Facebook, Artstation, YouTube. You can reach so many people with this. So you have everything you need right now to actually enter this industry and to actually, have a successful career. The main things you have to bear in mind is that it's not an easy path because it takes work. And if you don't have the passion for it, I would say forget about it, because this industry is not about like, if you're an artist, it's very unlikely you're going to become rich, just so you know. If you want to become rich, go do something else. You might become very wealthy if you become like a big deal director or something like that, or a supervisor, super high up supervisor. But as an artist, actually producing the work, not so much. But we do this for the love. It's like we do this for how much we love doing this kind of stuff. It's very important that you have that in mind. It's like there's the burnout factor. From time to time, you're gonna burn out, right? And you have to be careful with that. What I want you guys to know is that once you are in this industry, it can actually suck your soul a little bit. It's like in a way that it's like you're a little crushed if you take things personally. You should never take personally, right? So that's the first thing. If you're doing the job in this industry, is not your work. Keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind. Write it down. It's not your work. It's the work you're doing for someone else, okay? So if someone asks you to redo it, please redo as many times as they ask you to do. You're still going to get your same salary. You're still going to work the same time. It's like it might be frustrating, but at the same time, it's not your work. So what are you going to do if you get to that point of frustration? Go back home, save some energy for yourself. Don't put all your energy on the work done for someone else, because just bear in mind that the studios, they like to use you to actually help them to create products and profit, right? So it's very easy for them to get rid of people if they want to, right? So don't give your entire life to your job, no matter what job it is. Save some energy for your family, for your own personal work, and really dedicate to that. That's like the recipe of keeping your mind away from like stress, of like frustration from work stuff. Doing your own work, you're your own director, you're your own art director. You are the one in charge of everything. You can create anything you want. It's like you are in control of everything. So that's so important to keep in mind. Keep doing your personal work. Try not to burn out too much. Save some energy for yourself. Sometimes you're going to burn out with your personal work as well. Take little breaks. Go do something else. In my case, I'm just one person. I can only like offer like a little advice as one person. Like I said, I'm not a guru. I don't have all answers. But for me, what works really nicely is to actually put my hands on something physical. It's like build something. Like at some point, I got into woodworking. I was building furniture for a house, kitchen cabinets even. And then I got into some electronics, built like a pinball machine, like a mini arcade, things like that. It's like do something with your hands so you feel like, it's like I can produce something. It's very great to hold something, a product of your labor, When it's digital work, you can only see the screen, so it's not like super fulfilling sometimes. So do different things, go fishing, go swimming, go do anything. And then with your mind refreshed, go back to your personal work. You're probably going to come back like a better artist, and keep rocking, guys. Personal work is extremely important, at least for me. It opened all possible doors since I was a banker, to getting to my first job, to getting to my second job, to getting to my dream job at ILM for 14 years, and also for my next job that's about to happen as well. So keep that in mind and keep rocking, guys. Keep producing a lot of personal work. Be hard on yourselves, but not to the point that you just stop completely. Look up to the best people you can find out there, the best artists you can find, the most inspiring ones. Those ones you think you're never going to reach their level, because you're not going to reach their level. I cannot reach the level of the people I admire, okay? But at least that's going to push you further and further up, shooting always to the stars. Like just look up and then keep rocking, guys. See you next time. I hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, let's do this again. All right. Thank you. Have a great day, great night, and please subscribe. See ya.